Hello, my name is Nita Naugle, and I am a fourth generation South Routt resident. I grew up on a ranch just outside of Yampa, Colorado. And as Candace said, work at the Tracks and Trails Museum in Oak Creek as their curator and director. When Candace asked me about this particular topic and that I asked if I would do it, I was excited because our late historian Mike Urich did a lot of research on the Ku Klux Klan in Oak Creek, and so it was a delight to say yes because it's in honor of him and all the research that he has done in Oak Creek for it. With that in mind, this particular topic is geared specifically towards the research he did in Oak Creek, although there are references to other parts of the county and the KKK. I do apologize in advance if some of the topic and area is considered a little bit offensive. Some of the readings that I'll be reading are by no means the museum's and my view on the particular subject, but it reflects a certain time and age when the author was writing and their perspective. I'm going to give a little bit of background first on the KKK in general. The Ku Klux Klan was what it was known as and referred to as the KKK. It had three distinct movements in the U.S. All three movements called for a purification of American society. Often when we think of the KKK, we think, and the image comes to mind of the Southerner clad in his robes, masked and hidden from sight, beating the blacks under a flaming cross. That was part of the first movement. The first Klan flourished in the southern U.S. in the late 1860s. It sought to overthrow the Republican state governments in the South during the Reconstitution era, especially by using violence against the African American leaders. With numerous chapters across the South, it was suppressed around 1871 through federal law enforcement. Members made their own, often colorful costumes, robes, masks, conjugal hats, and designed to be terrifying and hide their identities. The KKK in Oak Creek and other towns in Routt County were part of a second movement. In 1915, the Second Klan was founded in Atlanta, Georgia. In 1921, it adopted a modern business system and used full-time paid recruiters. Organizers were paid through initiation fees. It rapidly grew to nationwide time at a prosperity. Rooted in the local Protestant communities, it sought to maintain white supremacy, often took a pro-prohibition stance, and it opposed the Catholics and Jews, while also stressing its opposition to the Catholic Church. At a time of high immigration from mostly Catholic nations of Central Europe and Southern Europe, the second organization adopted a standard white costume and used the code words that were similar to those used by the first KKK. With cross burnings, mass parades to intimidate others, it rapidly declined in the later half of the 1920s. The third and current manifestation of the KKK after World War II in the form of localized, isolated groups using the KKK name. They focused on opposition to the civil rights movement, often using violence against and murder to suppress activists. And a little bit of background about Oak Creek. How many of you are familiar with the area? Okay, those of you that aren't, Oak Creek is a 30-minute drive from Steamboat Springs. So in the south end of the county, we have Toponis and, McCoy, Toponis, Yampa, then Oak Creek, coming in towards Steamboat, then it goes to Hayden and on to Craig. We have Ponds Peak up in the north. So those are kind of how the towns are linked. The pioneer routes into Routt County first followed the game trails in Indian Pass. Sir George Gore's hunting party in Juria Park opened the first wagon road into the area, 1855, after which a few roads were established linking the county, 1882. The railroad arrived in Wolcott. Wolcott is clear down by I-70. So we were just then getting the railroad to Wolcott. In 88, that railroad allowed the stage to link Steamboat with Yellow Jacket Pass, which is near Stagecoach State Park, to Yampa, to Ponus, McCoy, and then on to Wolcott. It opened a way for pioneers, ranching, and homesteading to the county. To supply these early residents, seasonal wagon mines supplied the residents with coal. The Yampa coal beds spread across 828 square miles in Routt, Moffett, Rio Blanco County, and a bit into Wyoming and Utah. Meanwhile, at the turn of this century, several mines in Cripple Creek closed, leaving many unemployed looking for work and businessmen looking for customers and opportunity. Speculation turned eyes towards the vast coal fields in our Yampa Valley. David Moffett, a Denver businessman who made his fortune in the gold fields of Cripple Creek, envisioned a railroad from Denver to Salt Lake through the coal fields. Moffett organized the Northwestern and Pacific Railroad in 1902. Knowing the railroad was coming to Oak Creek in 1904, a group composed of Edward Bell, Sheriff of Teller County, D.C. Williams, John Sharp, K.B. Wiley, Lou Parsons, Sam Bell, A. Rolling Stone, ventured ahead of the Moffett Railroad and formed the Oak Creek Land and Mining Company with the hopes of quick wealth and the opportunity of a boomtown. The land company gave away one lot for every two purchased. These gentlemen also established themselves by creating Oak Creek businesses. Watch Oak Creek grow was their motto. And a rapid Cripple Creek migration of friends, neighbors, and businessmen took place. Oak Creek incorporated in 1907, and by 1908, when the railroad arrived, 3/4 of the town population had come from Teller County. In less than 10 years, Oak Creek was attracting men from all over the world to work in the coal mines. Before the 1914 coal strike, the Italian immigrants were the dominant foreign element in the valley. During the strike, Greeks on conscription were brought in by mine company to work in the place of the striking miners. After 1914 strike, many Greeks arrived from Ludlow hoping to blend in unnoticed. The Croatians, mostly young men dodging the draft in their mother country, arrived prior to World War I. By 1915, over 20 different nationalities were represented. It resembled a small United Nations. Italians, Greeks, Croatians, African Americans, Japanese, Norwegians, Mexicans, just to name a few. In 1915, the second movement of the KKK was founded in Atlanta, Georgia. The second KKK preached 100% Americanism and demanded the purification of politics and the enforcement of prohibition. Focus on the threat of the Catholic Church, it opposed Jews, Blacks, Catholics, and the newly arriving immigrants. By the 1920s, the second resurgence had a nationwide reach. It included the towns of Routt County. World War I created national patriotism and brought forth a reminder of one's origin. In papers across the nation, including the Oak Creek Times, in almost all reports with a race other than white, every accident or public incident, the nationality of the one involved is mentioned. For example, Greek miner killed. A Greek miner employed at the Moffett Company mine was killed when he fell from a mine car and was crushed. Oak Creek Times, March 25th, 1915. Mexican meets death by severe blow to an abdomen. Autopsy reveals that coal miner was murdered by parties unknown while working in the depths of the Perry mine. Oak Creek Times, April 20th, 1917. Crazy Negro found near Juniper mine, taken into custody. Oak Creek Times, December 14th, 1917. Japanese miners meet death in Mount Harris. 2 Japanese miners were killed at the Harris mine as a result of the accident. Oak Creek Times, May 18th, 1917. On December 7th, 1917, the Oak Creek Times announced the following: war may bar all Austrians from working in the coal mines. Nearly 40% of the coal employees at the Pinnacle mine will be declared alien enemies, as well as a number at the Moffett Coal Company. At present, the Moffett Coal Company has only 20 Austrians in its employment. About 6 have taken out citizenship papers. 2 weeks later, President Wilson proclaimed all citizens of Austrian-Hungary would be allowed to work as long as they behaved themselves. However, the seeds of animosity towards the foreigners had sunk into the hearts of many Americans. Many of the immigrants were Catholic, and the Catholics had alcohol in their church services. And the KKK was against drinking. By 1920, Oak Creek had over 2,000 people, not counting the many in the surrounding mine camps. There were 4 grocery stores, 3 general stores, 2 creameries, a laundry, 2 drugstores, 2 movie houses, 2 bakeries, 2 lumber companies, 2 hospitals, a number of rooming houses and hotels, a newspaper, a bank, and a number of small notion shops. And there was also established sporting houses and 1-room cribs for girls who were brought up from Leadville. The original town speculators found themselves competing with the immigrants in business. To name a few: an Italian baker, a Greek shoemaker, a Japanese grocer. Pool houses, coffee houses, restaurants were European flavored and operated by fellow European countrymen. It was early in Oak Creek's infancy that the Cripple Creek Bunch had begun to think themselves as the town elite. Upon entering the new decade of the 1920s, Oak Creek found itself with a very deliberate and divided personality. In 1921, the KKK grew rapidly nationwide when John G. Locke, Grand Wizard of Colorado Ku Klux Klan, sent delegates throughout Colorado for the purpose of forming local clans. The Cripple Creek Bunch was ready. Oak Creek was knee-deep in pool halls, coffee houses, gambling dens, vice, and Catholics. The town had a need for respectability. The Oak Creek KKK was born in 1922 with Dr. J.H. Cole as its first council commander. The Klan became a status symbol for the Oak Creek 400, whom held secret meetings, wore the roped attire, owned relics, and burned crosses. Their secret meetings were held in the Pearson Auditorium on the corner of Main and Sharp. Membership fee of $10, robes and other Klan regalia were ordered from Klan headquarters. The Klan chose 3 different sites in Oak Creek to burn their crosses on the hillsides overlooking the town. Prior to the formation of the Klan, the annual city elections for mayor and councilmen found little opposition. In fact, in the years 1920 and 22, that no tickets were filled and no elections were held. The board just carried over for another year. The election of 1923, the Klan backed the taxpayer's ticket with a supported stricter law enforcement and criticized the extravagance in the construction of a storage water reservoir. Klan candidates defeated every member of the citizens' ticket except one. Within 6 months after the election, the town had hired and fired 4 marshals and lost a councilman. The right to suppress the manufacture and sale of liquor was a hot topic, with tempers flaring. A game was created among the people in the town who watched the Klan parade to the ballpark. They would try to recognize the hooded members by the way that they walked. And Alan Cliff was always easy to spot because he walked with a limp. During one of the meetings, the Klan agreed upon a mass membership drive to strengthen their support in order to win county control in the 1924 election. Oak Creek Yampa Klansmen joined Steamboat Klan for a parade down Steamboat's Main Street. To celebrate, they also had their big, large, countywide Klan meeting. The Klan continued to control the community. The peace magistrate was a Klansman. Therefore, all cases that came before and were tried were in front of a Klansman. The minister was a Klansman. However, there was a little bit of opposition. The Oak Creek Ladies' Aid protested by not going to church. Surprise marriages also began to take place when the Klan started to threaten all unwed couples that lived together. A move from the People's Bank was stopped by the Klan. It was desired to have more savings in the Routt County Bank in Oak Creek, where Alan Cliff was president and also now a Klan wizard. This created financial pressure against the outside businesses. And I have a small reading from an excerpt that I'll get. Okay. In 1905, Lulu gave birth to her only child, Margaret Gretel. When Margaret entered her teens, her parents sent her to a Catholic school in Iowa. She loved sports and was an accomplished pianist. Margaret was diagnosed with tuberculosis, and it was recommended she go to a different climate. In the meantime, Lydia had married Carrie Fulton and moved to Oak Creek area. Hearing the early promoters of Oak Creek advertise the health benefits of the air and climate, Lydia returned the kindness of her Aunt Lulu and found a small house in Oak Creek for her and Margaret. The year was 1924 when Lulu with her daughter Margaret moved to Oak Creek. The weather was great, but the political climate was terrible. In Colorado, the KKK had resurrected. Most of the new immigrants were Catholic, and so the Klan became anti-Catholic. It is said that in Denver, the most popular cigar was Cyana, C-Y-A-N-A. Catholics, you are not American. The Oak Creek KKK found out that Lydia Fulton's aunt, Lou Gretel, and her daughter, Margaret, had something worse than TB. They were Catholic. One night, they were awakened by the light and sound of a cross burning on their front yard. Shortly after, the decision was made that Margaret could recover just as well in Iowa. Unfortunately, it was a bad decision because she soon passed away in 1929 at the age of 24. A few days, the election of 1924 and 1925, a few days before the polls opened, the election of 1924, word leaked out that the taxpayer's ticket was a Klan ticket. Dr. Cole lost his bid for mayor, as did the rest of the party. However, all the candidates on the citizens' ticket were Klan controlled, except for the new mayor, C.F. Watts. The Klan gained control of the county that year. Dr. E.L. Morrow and the Victor America Mine Doctor began to request the town to build a new city hall, jail, and library. To oppose the Klan, Dr. Morrow said that he would run for mayor in 1925 against the Klan choice, Thomas Matthews. The citizen's ticket put a cross mark after each of the following four candidates. For mayor, E.L. Morrow. For trustee, James Gilruth, John A. Grieve, and Harry E. Smith. Vote it straight. The above candidates are not bound to any secret hooded order and are free to act for the best interests of the community. Vote it straight, citizen's ticket, and elect a council which will support Dr. Morrow. Don't forget that the taxpayers' candidate are the choice of the Ku Klux Klan. Don't forget the Klan threatened to boycott Dr. Morrow and the Victor American Fuel Company if he, Dr. Morrow, did not withdraw from the citizens' ticket. Don't forget that we've had Klan police judge and an important Klan marshal for several months, and that a vote for the taxpayers' ticket is a vote for the continuation of the Klan rule during another year. Don't forget that all Klansmen have taken an oath to obey the commands of the Imperial Wizard, and results in Routt County show that they do it. Don't be misled by false and fake reports started by the Klan to divide our strength. Forget all the petty stuff and go down the line for an anti-Klan ticket. Vote it straight. The next reading that I have, to put it in context, was written by somebody anti-Klan in the 1925 campaign material. It's written tongue-in-cheek, like an illiterate Klansman, showing contempt for their ideas. The original letter was written in a dialect and with intentional poor spelling, and is very hard to read. However, for ease, I'll read it to you straight. At the top, the heading is, "Yours in the invisible empire, I am a D sucker." Oak Creek, Colorado, April 6, 1925. Dear Doctor, I thought I would write to tell you that the Klan has finally moved its hall. We did it Saturday and will now hold our Klan vocations in a lumber yard. 100% Americans can get in the yard from the alley through a loose board in the fence and sneak up the side stairs in the dark. It makes us laugh to think the Citizens Party has to meet somewhere where everybody knows what is going on. We are lucky that the Cliff family makes such an interest in the local Klan, for it has been weeding out. Our organization is now 400 of Oak Creek. Harry Cliff is a wizard or council commander. Fred Cliff is an inner guard. Alan Cliff is a Kobe or banker. The other officers are Doc Cole, past council commander, and our next mayor, Tom Matthews, is Killigrip or secretary. Jail chaplain at the depot is Cyclops. We are now getting to where we are going to do something. So far, all we did is brought a new auto for Kaylee reunion. Makes us laugh to think the Citizens Park believe they've got any chance in this election. We've got the best politicians. Ed Bell wouldn't ever let them name one man for elected judge, and you don't intend to let lots of them vote. We got 4 votes on the town board. We hire and fire the marshal and give them orders. Try prisoners before the Klan magistrate and run things just as Doc Cole and Ed Bell says. We've been running things for a year and the town ain't no cleaner than it ever was, but we are smart enough to put all the blame on the Citizens Party and the people believe it. It would make you laugh, Doc, to hear all the stuff that we are making the voters believe. We tell fellers that like to play cards that it's only bootleggers we're after and the boys who like to drink. That's what we want to do, is drive out professional gamblers. We promise our folks that we are going to clean up the whole works and put all pool halls out of business. This would cost the town $1,500 in pool hall license and cut down $2,000 or $3,000 in fines. But we make them believe we would still have lots of money to build the town hall, public library, town jail, and make boulevards on the street. Lots of people believe that if the whole Klan ticket gets in Oak Creek, we'll be another Garden of Eden, with no vice, no taxes, lots of money, and plenty of work, with nice reading room for minors after dark, and everybody giving their money to the grocery store or putting it in the Routt County Bank. If we can elect our ticket, the common herd will be lucky to get a dance at all, let alone a dance after midnight. The KKK are doing lots of good. We have 3 or 4 dances at the Amju Orchestra and have prevented People's Bank from being started and have made the people of Oak Creek keep the Klan minister, although they won't go to church and the Ladies' Aid is beginning to buck. We import a marshal and we're going to England for a mayor. What more are we going to make them like it? Since the Cliffs have been trying to make the Klan a social organization, we've had to kick out a lot of members, which have hurt us a little during the campaign. We took a lot of people. Alan and Harry was riffraff last summer when we wanted to win the county election, but we now take advantage of every excuse to drop them. Amuses everybody in Oak Creek to see several ex-Klanmen still sticking up for the organization, hoping to get back into society. When it comes to politics, Tom Matthews of Kansas ain't no slouch. He asked people to vote for him, telling him that Morrow is just as much Klan as he is, which shows he knows the voters are fools. He makes folks think he's going to do a lot as mayor when the fact is the Klan has been in control over the town the past year with him on the board, and he ain't done nothing. I write again after 100% victory Tuesday. I'm a D sucker. The Klan used Dr. Morrow's idea of building a new city hall as their campaign promise too. They sent threats to warn Dr. Morrow to withdraw and also to the mine superintendent, Ben Snodgrass, and Dr. Morrow should be removed as mine doctor. The Klan promised to bring the wrath of the entire empire of the Colorado against the American Fuel Company through a boycott if his firing was not done immediately. Snodgrass stood firm, saying Dr. Morrow was an excellent doctor and the miners liked him. The election recorder of 1925 had this to say about the election and the outcome. The election this year was on the Ku Klux Klan. The citizens' ticket was in opposition of the Klan, while the taxpayers' ticket was endorsed by the Klan, with its candidates being Klan members. 495 ballots were voted and the entire citizens' ticket was elected by a majority of nearly 3-1. This was the most one-sided contest in history of Oak Creek, elections usually being close. So this next reading was found in a box at a yard sale with other stuff from Oak Creek. Was found in Mancos, Colorado. We assume that someone from the Klan wrote it about that time period. Everything fits into place. The town that God forgot. Let us sing a song of Oak Creek, famed for its graft and rot. It's just a wide place in the road and a place that God forgot. A noble place boasts hickory flats whose booze leads one to tears. Where coon kills coon and laughs in glee, it only costs 2 years. Its winding streets are paved with mud and filth lies underfoot. Small wonder that all the foreign scum so readily takes root. Here white mule daily runs amok and takes no pain to hide, spawned by the depths of gambling halls whose doors are open wide. Here boys from the 12 to 21 all lose their hard-earned yin, smoke long cigars and try to curse poor kids they think they're men. With youth their cheeks are pink as rouge, they're wise beyond their years, hardly out of diaper class and scarcely dry behind the ears. The local merchants saps our blood, our cheeks we seldom see. They get us down, cut our throats, and sever a garnishee. They own the town, the water rights, the homes where we dwell. I hear they have a mortgage on old Satan's domicile. Our schoolgirls fear to tread the streets for each an alleyway. Gold would be sheiks with painted cheeks and smutty things to say. But that's not all they have to fight. The worst is yet to see. I'm told there's granddads who hold these lassies on their knees. We've yellow bellies, Dagos, Greeks, killers in their native lair. They've got garlic on their stinking breath and spaghetti in their hair. They get by with most anything, they know where they stand. All they do is clear their skirts, is grease the proper hand. I know a dirty little Greek with some sure bluff and threat. Now dwells in an abandoned house, I'll get his goat, you bet. That isn't much, you intimidate, rather a common sight. That may be all, but listen, friend, by God, this family's white. Oh yes, you say we must have cops so brave, so true, so strong, who watch the town from dark till dawn, they could do with no wrong. Courageous men, I grant them that, who'll beat a helpless drunk, put frail to pitch or whop or winch, who sell rotten junk. The reason why the honest man who realizes this mix don't straighten out the nasty mess is crooked politics. The town is run by 2 or 3 who have all the say. They put it into office if one plays the game their way. So say a prayer or sing a song or curse out loud. It makes no diff among the riff known as Oak Creek crowd. Repentance comes a bit too late, for none shall wear a crown. God came and saw, and he turned his back on all in this man's town. Shortly after the overwhelming defeat, the Klan met to burn a cross south of Bell Avenue. They were startled by loud noises on the opposite side of town. There before their eyes was a huge burning spinning wagon wheel. It was accompanied by gunshots. The incident symbolized the protest and hostility of the people in the community and was the last time the Oak Creek Ku Klux Klan gathered to openly show their presence in town. The youth responsible for the burning wagon wheel were happily supplied with the best bootleg whiskey the Greeks could make. The Klan ceased to exist. The members gradually blended into other organizations and into the pages of history. Mike Urich did the most of the research at the Tracks and Trails Museum on the Oak Creek Klan, and this is what he had to say. In 1970, I did a paper for the history class at Adams State College about the Ku Klux Klan in Oak Creek, Colorado. I found some notes I made when I interviewed my mother and now realize the historic significance of my parents' wedding in 1924. When my parents got married February 1924, the Klan was busy campaigning through the county, and they did win control of the county in the 1924 election. It must cause quite a stir in the Oak Creek Klan meetings when Rose Brockovich married Frank Yurkovich. They were married at the Catholic Chapel on Main Street with a large number of Slavic people in attendance. The entire group walked from the Pearson Building to have photos taken, and they walked the entire length of Main Street from Sharp Avenue to Grant Avenue, where the celebration lasted for 3 days and nights with lots of food and homemade alcohol. The wedding couple rented a small house on Grant Avenue. The interview with my mother, she said that one night she woke and looked out the bedroom window and saw a large burning cross on the hill near her house. I had a wonderful, excited feeling, she said, a feeling of a vision from heaven and our marriage being blessed by God. But that changed a few days later when she found out and learned that the hillside location was one of the favorite cross-bearing sites of the KKK. By 1925, the Klan folded throughout the nation. In Georgia, they were investigated for tax fraud. In Denver, it was the handling of the Klan funds. And in Oak Creek, the banker with his bank clerk took off to Mexico with the bank money. It's kind of ironic working at the Tracks and Trails Museum and telling you this story from a lot of words from Mike Urich. The museum and Tracks and Trails there was dedicated to Mike Urich for his contributions. That same building is the old town hall that was built by that campaign promise in 1924 and 5. So it all goes full circle. Thank you very much. Are there questions? Yes.
So what does Ku Klux Klan mean?
Somebody else out there might be able to know more than I do. I don't know for sure what Ku Klux Klan means. I don't know what the Ku Klux stands for. Of course, the Klan is a group of people. Other questions I may or may not be able to answer.
So your museum is in that building?
Yes.
Okay.
My museum is in the Tracks and Trails Museum, which is the old town hall.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Not a question, but a comment about a recent mailing I received, which seems to indicate that not much has changed in over 100 years, which is a little bit scary with what's going on in our country today.
That comment was that she had a recent mailing. They indicated that it was pretty scary that not a lot has changed in those 100 years.
Can you tell us more about the mailing? Or
I
mean, you don't have to give specifics. You don't have to give specifics,
I
but
don't know how people in the audience would react, but it was certainly from a certain religious organization that was attacking political parties in the country and, of course, asking for money to support their cause, and it was very, very disturbing.
Yes.
I just want to see if I understood correctly that the source of discrimination historically in Oak Creek was against immigrant minors from maybe Eastern Europe and other countries, not so much people of color. Is that correct? I mean, is there a history of people of color in Routt County?
Yes, we did have the African Americans in Routt County at that time, but the question was asked, it was specifically not so much against the blacks, but because of immigration, and that is correct. Most of the immigrants were the European descent, and they were Catholics, and so that had a contributing factor. But that second wave of the KKK was against the immigration. They competed, the businesses competed. The founding fathers as established businesses, and these foreigners came in and were competing with them, and so there was dissension there. So yes, there was a lot of tension there, not just specifically to one race.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I just had a quick question. I know Mike Urich, who you did a lot of the research from, had talked that he was flabbergasted that an organization that had risen out of the southeastern part of the United States could make its way all the way to remote northwest Colorado, and then obviously change forms, as Mary Ann just pointed out, to be focused more on immigrants and less on people of color. Can you talk about maybe how you think that transition happened, and how the groups here sort of felt like they should grab onto something that was seemingly so far away in the 20s?
Well, as I stated, it had traveled from the South, but people also immigrated from the South. The mindset wasn't just localized to the South. People traveled this way. Mindsets travel this way. When like people get together, they start thinking alike. And when you get such a diverse community, it threatens those who are used to what they're used to. So yeah, it was definitely against the immigrants and against unlike views that they didn't understand. Did that answer your question? Other questions? Yeah, Marcia.
Were there any hangings or murders attributed to the KKK?
She asked if there were any hangings or murders contributed to the KKK. Not that I know of specifically, but I'm not sure. I can't say either way.
We could ask Paul Bonner.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not aware of whether or not Oak Creek has its own cemetery. I imagine it does. But historically, did you see these political influences in the burying policies?
We do have a cemetery in Oak Creek, and there is a mixture of both. Some of the Oak Creek 400, as I called them in my speech, there's a certain area where they were buried. Some of the immigrants are buried on the outlying areas. You can see a definite pattern, and there is a rich cultural heritage of all cultures being buried in the same lot and plots areas. Yeah. Other questions? By no means am I an expert on the KKK, but I certainly do want to share with what we had in Oak Creek. It's fascinating. It was a dynamic time in the history, and today Oak Creek still has some of those roots, not only from those from Cripple Creek, but those roots from other countries. And you can see it in the lineage that is now living there today and the last names of the people that live in Oak Creek. Yes?
I can't help it. Sorry, my third question. I'm just curious. I know you're a historian and a museum curator, but people 100 years from now, how do you think they're going to look back at this time in history of Oak Creek? What is the direction? What in this moment, what does Oak Creek represent that you think 100 years from now will be significant?
Things come full circle. As I was talking to Mike before he passed away, one of the things, and this is just kind of an example, one of the things he talked about was in the 60s and early 70s, the influence of the hippies at that time that came to the area. Nowadays, Colorado has legalized marijuana, and some of those same influences have come to Oak Creek. We have dispensaries and factories that grow the marijuana. And so things go full circle, and I don't know what they're going to think in 100 years from now, but it'll be interesting to see. One of the things that I do want to encourage is you guys are part of history too. Your stories and the things that you're experiencing today, write down, even if it's a short paragraph, and pass along either to your kids or to the museum, it doesn't matter. But write down these stories because they're important, and they will be history tomorrow.
Which is why you're being recorded.
Any other
Just one
questions?
question.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you how the youths fit into this agreement.
The question was asking how the youths fit into this area, and it was earlier that the youths fit into this area. Originally, gold was discovered in Hans Peak, and shortly after that, and it was a little ways after that, the powers that be put the Indians on the reservation, the youths, the Native Americans on the reservation. So it wasn't long after the gold was discovered here in Routt County that the youths were put onto the reservation. And they're the early residents of Routt County. I think so, about 1878. And there's going to be a really cool program, if you see on your flyers, about the youths coming to Steamboat and doing presentation. I was there last year and it was a lot of fun. So certainly take advantage of some of the other programs that the Tread of Pioneers Museum has to offer.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thank you.